Today on the DNVR Broncos podcast, we've got a lot to get into. We're going to talk about what Sean Payton and George Paton had to say out in Indianapolis yesterday, including that Davis Webb is going to be calling plays for the Broncos. Got more thoughts there. Broncos have a new defensive passing game coordinator, which is interesting. Some meat on the bone, Sean said last season. I thought there was a lot of interesting stuff that we've got to dive into. We're going to get started in about 30 seconds. We've got a lot to get into today.
We do.
I'm Henry Chisholm. Brian Koenigsberg. Got Dion producing, which is always a lot of fun. Today we're going to make him laugh at some point. That's my only goal. But to start, I guess we've got a video to play because Zach was out in Indianapolis for the Combine, currently coming home.
And RG.
And the two of them were talking about what happened yesterday. So we might as well just throw it over to them and hear what they learned from Sean and George.
What's up, guys? And we are coming to you live from the Combine. Ryan Green, Zach Stevens. We talked to George and Sean right there just a couple of minutes ago. And shout out to Ryan for joining me right now. Ryan the Giant is what I call him, at least how he set this frame up.
It's no worse than Adam Mars and Brendan Vogt.
that is very true. So last night in the emergency pod, I gave you my feelings about Davis Webb giving up play calling. And Ryan, that's where we got to start here. That's the biggest story by far, kind of dominating everything. What do you think about Sean officially giving up play calling?
Look, I know it's a big, gasp initially because it's Sean Payton, the offensive genius. We didn't think anyone would be touching his offense or be calling plays for him at all. But I'm one to kind of look at last season and go, let's try something else. A lot of
but Sean will remind you, as he did, they were the 10th best offense this past year.
That's fair. And if you took all the fourth quarters out, I think they'd be like the 30th best offense. And that's what I'm just kind of more willing to see. Again, I can't knock him for going to the AFC Championship, and I mean there were games that they looked absolutely unbeatable. I thought the Bills game was one of their best games. Obviously the Cowboys game was incredible. But the majority of the season we were sitting there for three quarters going, what's wrong with the offense? Are they ever going to fix this come playoffs? And I also think that if you wanted to keep Davis Webb, you had to give up play calling. I think that's it. I think he knew he could get a job somewhere, whether it be head coach or offensive coordinator, where he would be calling plays. And so if you wanted to keep Davis Webb, if you wanted him on staff, then yeah, you had to give that up. And I think, especially with Davis Webb, I think you're going to see what we see with a lot of players that are in contract years, where you're going to get Davis Webb's best because he's going to obviously be auditioning for a head coaching position next year. Yeah. He probably got a lot of good feedback from the teams that were interviewing him this year about it, and he probably wants to show that and showcase that this year. So I think it's going to be a good thing for the offense. I think him and Bo have a great relationship. I'm curious to see how he subs in wide receivers, if he has a lot of packages that Sean had, or if maybe he tries to keep it a little more consistent with, Marvin Mims we haven't seen a lot of. Troy Franklin maybe we'll see more of. And sounds like we maybe see more playmakers after this offseason. So, yeah, cool. Again, I don't think anyone thought they would probably win 14 games again next year after this year. So why not? Why not give Davis Webb a shot? Let's see what's going on. Sean said, if it's not going well, maybe he'll come back and call some plays. So it's who knows? 8 games in and it's not working. Sean may be back in.
He made it very clear that this is still my offense, guys.
Right,
this is still the Sean Payton offense.
His team.
He was asked how aggressive do you think Davis is going to be as a non-head coach being a play caller? Do you think he'll be more aggressive? And he said, it's still my offense. It's still going to be just as aggressive as it was when it was with me. And I'm sure Sean's going to remind us throughout the year that he's had some good input into this offense as well. And just one last thing on this. The last time Sean Payton didn't call plays is because I believe he tore his ACL, got hit on the sideline, so he had to give play calling duties to Pete Carmichael. And in the first game that Pete Carmichael was calling plays, he scored 63 points. So
is Pete Carmichael available? Can he call plays?
He just left. Went to the Buffalo Bills.
All right.
And so it's going to be interesting to see if Davis tries to one-up that in week 1 for the Broncos. One thing that I don't know if I mentioned in yesterday's show, talking to so many players over these past couple of weeks, assuming that Davis was going to be the play caller, they love it. They are thrilled.
That's
From
good.
offensive linemen to wide receivers to defensive guys, they all believe in Davis Webb. And it really does show you. I mean, as up and down as last year was, Sean is one of the greatest play callers of all time. For him to give this up shows how much he thinks about Davis Webb.
That's a good point.
And Davis was playing games in the NFL in 2022. He's been like, you have so many other guys with so much
Could have played
experience.
against Garrett Bowles. Like,
No, for Garrett Bowles, Davis was in the league and out of the league during Garrett Bowles' entire career. It's just crazy how young he is.
That's so wild.
It's pretty exciting, and ideally, this is only for 1 year because the Broncos do so well that Davis is the head coach next year.
That's what it seems like it's going to be. So, again, I think his relationship, especially with Bo, and like you're saying, it sounds like the players like him, and why not? I mean, he was literally just one of them. So I think he's definitely going to be a pretty good. I mean, I think he was a bridge last year. That's how people probably label him in terms of like Sean and like the quarterback room, and he was the bridge. I think maybe this will actually be kind of like, no, Davis has got it, but it's still, like you said, it's still going to be Sean's team. I don't think he's going to like remove himself entirely.
Well, you kind of mentioned a bridge between Bo and Sean. Well, there was some drama, Ryan, after the season.
Oh, yeah, there
between
was.
Bo and Sean about Sean talking about Bo's injuries, and then Bo having a press conference the
Anklegate.
next day to say he shouldn't be talking about my injuries. This is the first time that we've been able to talk to Sean since all of this went down, and boy, did he not hold back. He was asked, was there a miscommunication going on there between? And Sean said, yes, there was a miscommunication, but it wasn't with me. I didn't have the miscommunication. He pointed directly to Mike Kliss and said, Mike had the miscommunication.
No,
I know. He said, Mike had the miscommunication because I don't like it when local reporters misquote me in questions that they ask to a player over Zoom. And we talked about this right after it happened, that this is exactly what happened, and Sean was not afraid to let everyone know that it was not his fault, it was the reporter's fault.
I hope you're taking notes, Zach. I hope when you ask Bo a question, you play the clip of Sean and then have him respond. You cannot quote him. Right?
No, you can't misquote. So he buried that. He was asked about it a second time and then apologized to Mike and then buried him again and then said, like, we're moving on from this. So
good.
Anklegate has been open and closed,
I hope.
shut, cases done there. On to some other things that we learned. It really seems like the three positions that Sean and George want to hit in this offseason, linebacker, tight end, and running back. Those are the three that it really seems like from what they talked about today. They said that Sean always breaks it down by there's musts, wants, and needs in an offseason. Wants is the highest of the priority list, and they pretty much said that those three positions are on the want list. But, RG, there's a big thing that we need to throw out here. This is without the guys that are going to be impending free agents. So this is assuming that Alex Singleton is not on the team next year, because Alex Singleton, Justin Sternot, at running back, you have J.K. Dobbins. Those guys are impending free agents. So the way they break this down is, okay, without these guys, what does it look like? And without these guys, those are positions that the Broncos clearly need, and obviously you have to.
Yeah, that makes sense. But, I mean, George Paton said he did kind of want Singleton and Sternot back, or at least they're going to try. So I'm curious as to what they're going to do there, if they're saying it's a position of need but wanting them back. I don't know what they are looking for. Running back, obviously. Tight ends, I guess I'm a little surprised with Evan Ingram. I think J.K. Dobbins, I don't know. I think he might be one and done. It just seems like I know he's such a cool guy. He talked about how he wants to be here as a Bronco. I think that was a plea more than anything. But I think this last year was the flyer. You have an injury history.
Yeah.
Obviously, we want to see if you're still a starting running back caliber type of player, and I think they got their answer. And unfortunately, that's unfortunate. I think if JK takes a real friendly deal, they'll have him back. But I think they're in the market for a what is it? Bell cow. I think that. Which I'm surprised. I think RJ Harvey could have that. But,
I was going to say, so you don't buy what George said, because George also said that he believes that RJ Harvey is still a 3-down running back and still that guy. He said, I don't remember the exact words, but he said something like he couldn't be happier. Those were the exact words, actually. He couldn't be happier with RJ right now.
Okay. I think RJ showed tremendous talent and tremendous promise. But that is a position where, I don't know, in the Sean Payton offense, or who knows, in the Davis Webb offense, maybe you just need a lot of those guys. I look at JK, I look at RJ, they're big, but they're not big. Like, they're not, I don't think I look at them and look at like a Kenneth Walker kind of size or something like that. So very curious to see what they think about how they need to upgrade their running back room. Their tight end room seems kind of full, but the way you look at Evan Ingram's year and Troutman's year and Kroll's year, and it's just kind of so we'll see if they fall in love with anyone in the draft and any free agents. And then, of course, I'm very curious to see what they would do with linebacker.
Yep, Kenyon Sadiq named a very much keep in mind after this. Sean said he's always looking for guys with Joker qualities at tight end or the running back position. So I think that's a name to really keep in mind. Another guy that they said they wanted here, they did say they want Alex Singleton and Justin Sternad here. Another guy is Jaquan. He's a restricted free agent, and I thought George made a very interesting comment. He says, we want him here, and so I do believe the Broncos are going to put a tag on him. Okay. But then he said, we'll see if teams call about him.
Yo, if they put a first-round tender on him and he's getting calls, that's going to be hard to ignore.
100%.
It would be one thing if you just had Pat Surtain, but you got Riley Moss, and that's a crowded room. And Jahdae Barron's still coming up. So that could be one where they do probably want him. I would want him back, but if you get the right price, and I bet you're going to get a lot of good calls, especially maybe draft night, I don't know. It would be sad to see him go, but I would not be surprised if Jaquan isn't here.
Was it sad to see him go? Happy to watch him leave or something like that? If what's coming,
I mean, yes, the scenarios of those two are very different. But
does that mean something that I know?
I'll tell you off camera. A lot of people watching probably know.
Maybe I can imagine what that actually means. And anything else that stood out to you today?
Oh, man. It sounds like George Payton's probably staying around a lot.
Good point.
It's really funny that, 2 years ago after the Russell Wilson stuff, everyone wanted that man's head. He wanted him out of here. But now I really think, and even just like observing them walking around here, I really do think Sean Payton and George Paton have a great relationship.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's ever been a time where they were butting heads, or there may have been a power dynamic struggle in Sean's first year when they were figuring things out, but I really think those two are just on the same page now and kind of understand each other. So I think George Paton is here as long as Sean Payton is.
Yep, I completely agree. So expect a contract extension for George at some point. He's not going to the Minnesota Vikings. He's going to stay in Denver. And just one final thing, because Sean he talked for 35 minutes.
Is that it? Yeah, he did.
George talked for 11, so that just kind of shows you the dynamic between those two right there.
They were both scheduled for 15. That's all I was.
Why were you sore after Sean Payton?
It's just standing forever. It's unbelievable.
I know, I was too.
I'm standing there trying not to shake the camera, and everyone else is shaking my camera. It was wild. It was a wild scene.
But about half of that time, so 17 and a half minutes, was spent on the play calling. And by the end of it, Sean was at first, I think, very proud to give up the play calling and to announce it and to show all his faith in Davis Webb. By the end of it, he was pissed off. And I think we're going to see about like all the questions about it. I think we're going to see a lot of that from Sean this year. But how great was the play calling after putting up 34 points in week 1? Oh, it was great. Week 2 comes around, same thing's back. Come on, guys. I still have input in this.
This will be after the 3 preseason games and all the training camp practices where Davis Webb is calling plays. So that'll be fun for Sean, I'm sure.
Yep. So stay tuned for tight ends, running backs, linebackers. I think they're going to get some of their own free agents signed in the next couple of weeks. And then what they do in free agency at those positions specifically. And then the draft. Keep an eye on Kenyon Sadiq. That's going to do it. Shout out to RG for joining me, guys. Toss it back to you.
Great stuff from our guys, Zach and RG. I'll let RG borrow my hat. That's the one I always wear. That's why I'm wearing this one today.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
really nice of you.
It is really nice.
Super sunny in Indianapolis, they say.
Oh, wow. Always sunny in Indianapolis, famously. We've got a lot to talk about. Real quick, though, let's give a shout out to our friends over at
Coors Light, man. Coors Light is amazing. And I am heading to the Dark Horse tonight. Of course, the legendary Dark Horse in Boulder has about 2 weeks left to live. And so I need to go pay my respects.
You do.
And I'll be heading down to the Dark Horse tonight, watch a little Buffs basketball, watch a little Nuggets, watch a little Avs. And you know the Coors Light will be flowing like it has for, I don't know, 50 years at the Dark Horse, maybe more.
Wow.
It's a beautiful thing. Just like Coors, an ice cold Coors Light is a beautiful thing. So whatever you're up to this weekend, whatever you're up to this week, remember to choose chill. Choose Coors Light. It's cold filtered, cold lagered, and cold packaged for a smoother finish. And it just hits different, in my opinion, than any other beer when it just comes to a thirst-quenching beer. So celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light.
Also, as always, want to give a shout out to our best friends over at Taco Bell. It isn't Taco Tuesday today, but it's still a great day to go get some tacos. Might have to do that on the way home. Going to the Nuggets game tonight. Post Nuggets tacos might be the move. Can't go wrong with anything they have there. The beefy 5-layer burrito. I like the Doritos Locos tacos. Those are my favorite. But they also have a new limited time only chicken bacon ranch street chalupa. You get 2 of them, 2 street-sized cheddar chalupa shells. They're filled with slow roasted chicken, flavorful bacon, freshly prepared pico de gallo, shredded cheese, and avocado ranch sauce. Go check them out. They've got all sorts of good stuff, as always, the nacho fries, whatever you need, they've got it. And don't forget to add one of their new items from the Taco Bell Luxe value menu. They've got 10 items for $3 or under. It's great value. It's bold, irresistible flavor, crave-worthy items, unbelievable prices, because nobody delivers everyday value and supports your hometown teams like Taco Bell. Live Moss at Taco Bell. Back into the DNVR Broncos podcast in the Toyota Lounge. We should say we have a sale going on that you guys should go sign up for. Stuff from the combine. I went way too deep on the tight ends and the running backs, and we're just plowing through these positions as we get closer and closer to free agency. But that's all up on the website. What film rooms for every free agent signing, film rooms for all the draft picks. So much good stuff. I think sometimes the off-season content is better than the in-season content. I don't know if maybe that's a hot take.
That's a hot take.
Is it a hot take?
It was maybe true when we sucked.
Okay, fair enough.
But off-season content may be more important
Right.
than in-season content because there's a lot more that you have to keep track of rather than just watching the game on Sunday.
Also 15% off at the bar, all sorts of different perks. So go check them out. All right. There was a lot going on there. I feel like the 2 things we really need to get into are Robert Livingston and Davis Webb. Which one do you want to do first?
We can do Livingston since it's fresh.
Yeah.
It's the freshest thing.
So Robert Livingston taking over as defensive passing game coordinator. He was the defensive coordinator at Colorado for a couple years. Before that was with the Bengals as a defensive assistant. News just broke this morning. He'll be taking over defensive passing coordinator, which was Jim Leonard's job for the past couple years. Interesting. I'm curious what you think because you're the Buffs guy.
Yeah. I had a great relationship with Robert Livingston while he was covering the Buffs, and he is a great guy. Beloved by the players.
Early 40s?
Yes. Younger guy. Beloved by the players. A lot of energy. Kind of like the guy that you see after a player makes a big play, like running out, 12 yards onto the field to go celebrate with them. How to evaluate him as a defensive coordinator is interesting because he took over a really bad defense in 2023. They had a really, really bad defense. Robert Livingston was tasked with fixing that. He's brought in and did an incredible job. They went from being a team who could not stop the run to save their lives to a team who was very solid stopping the run. They went from a team who could not get after the passer to a team that led the Big 12 in sacks, and obviously, went on to win 9 games that season. A lot of hype around Robert Livingston going into this last season. and the defense went right back to where it was before he got there. What to make of that, I really don't know. That's probably a conversation for the Buff Show. 1:00 if you're interested in that. But someone who was really, really respected in the building, and someone who I think is overqualified for the position that he's taking with the Broncos. And I think he's taking it because of the position has shown to be a gateway position for Jim Leonhard, who, took that job. Now he's a defensive coordinator. And I think when you spend most of your career on one side of the table, you're probably going to end up on that side of the table. Robert Livingston had been an NFL coach his whole career. He jumps over, gets to run a defense with the Buffs, has some, good stuff, some bad stuff. But now he can say he has the experience of calling plays. You come take this job with the Broncos, you do a great job, you're going to get a defensive coordinator position in the NFL. And on that note, he was considered, I believe, for the Saints defensive coordinator position last year. And I want to say the Cowboys defensive coordinator position this year. Did that open up? I can't remember. Or maybe it would have been, I don't know.
The thing
because Christian Watson, right? He's the defensive coordinator of the Cowboys now?
Not the receiver Christian Watson.
No, sorry.
Christian Parker.
Christian Parker.
There we go.
Yes. So he was considered for NFL defensive coordinator positions over the last 2 off seasons.
Cool.
And I think he's going to do a really, really great job. And what a position to be in, being the pass game coordinator of a team with arguably the best pass rush and arguably the best secondary. Yeah,
we'll see what he brings to the table. Because when Jim Leonhard took the job, his defenses at Wisconsin, they were most known for all their simulated pressures. So you send essentially blitzers off of one edge with your nickel or your safety or whatever it may be, a linebacker, but you're not actually sending more rushers. You're still just sending 4 because you're dropping guys off the other side. You're dropping a defensive end into coverage. And he brought that to the Broncos. They used a bunch of that. Obviously, Dondre Tillman getting multiple picks off of those sorts of plays. Plenty of other examples as well. So we got to see Jim Leonhard fingerprints on it. And I'll be interested to see what Robert Livingston brings to the table there. Fixing to find out.
Yeah, absolutely. Price. I think that it's a really good hire, honestly.
Cool.
And I think that he's going to end up succeeding, and I think that'll end up being a defensive coordinator somewhere.
I hope so.
And I think that you're going to hear a bunch of great things about him along the way.
And he goes by Robert, never Bob.
They called him Coach Rob at the Buffs.
Okay, interesting. Davis Webb.
Yes.
We've talked a lot about it. Well, we talked a little bit about it yesterday. We didn't talk a lot about it, and that's why today we get to talk a lot about it. Having a night to think about it, is there anything new on your mind about Davis Webb calling plays?
Well, I had an interesting interaction with someone on Twitter about this who was basically like, Sean Payton without calling plays might as well just be Nathaniel Hackett.
Oh, boy.
Or if we wanted to rely on the offensive coordinator, we might as well have just kept Vic Fangio. And it just, as wild as that sounds, it just struck me as I think people are maybe forgetting why this makes sense. One, Sean Payton is a elite play caller, in my opinion.
Yep.
But it's possible that he's actually an elite play designer.
Okay, yep.
An elite offense builder, an elite matchup exploiter, and maybe just a good play caller.
Mm-hmm. Especially now.
Yes, exactly. And he has admitted that he doesn't feel like he's getting things done as fast as he could. And I believe he even brought that up yesterday when talking about Davis Webb taking over. You don't lose any of that.
Right.
Sean Payton doesn't just stop going to offensive meetings now. This is still Sean Payton's offense. Davis Webb is just going to be the one with the headset relaying the calls into Bo Nix's ear. And so I think that is important to remember that, you're not losing Sean Payton's talent at all. And the other thing is, if it doesn't work, you mentioned this yesterday, your backup plan is Sean Payton's your play caller again, which works out great. To me, I think that this is a roll of the dice of could it be even better? Can I combine what I'm best at with something that I think Davis Webb has a gift for, as he said it, and end up having one really great season of offense that could carry the Denver Broncos to a Super Bowl. That, I think that Sean Payton is in the tinkering phase of what button can I press to get us closer to a Super Bowl? Mm-hmm. What can I do? What if the Broncos have a great offense this year?
Totally.
Like, you're talking about dominance.
Yeah.
You're talking about blowout win after blowout win if they have a great offense. And I think Sean Payton is just in the phase of, what can I do? And when he was faced with the scenario of Davis Webb could be leaving, I think it made him realize how much he wanted him to be around, and he was willing to do what it would take to get him to stay. And so I think it's a great move that is, in my opinion, all reward, no risk.
Totally. Yeah, because you just flip it right back if it doesn't work.
Exactly.
You could week 4 say, yeah, I'm just calling plays again. And I agree with a lot of what you said. And I'd even add, for all the stuff he does schematically, his biggest value as a coach is the non-football stuff, like the culture stuff and the big decision stuff, and deciding, when everything turned around for the Broncos, it was because he decided to spend the week out at the Greenbrier. At that point, they were 0-3, and then they rip off a few wins and wind up making the playoffs with Bo Nix. Those sorts of big decisions. My favorite story, I remember talking to Jaquan McMillan. I can't remember. It must have been Sean's second game against the Chiefs in Kansas City, when Sean told everybody on the team we're wearing longer cleats. Like, we're not wearing the short ones because their field is awful, and that's one of their advantages, is that you get the defense slipping and sliding. They're tough to cover, and so everybody's adding a 1/4 inch to the cleats. And they swapped them all out, went out to practice, and everybody's walking around all awkward with their long spikes on the bottom of the cleats. And they wind up playing a lot better. Like, those are the things, those are the big decisions that Sean makes that change courses for teams. And on top of that, just like the culture, how meetings are run and all that sort of stuff. All of that is much more important than anything he's done schematically or even football-wise for the Broncos, in my mind.
I would argue that the best thing he's done for the Broncos is develop Bo Nix. And build an offense around Bo Nix that has allowed him to be successful the last 2 years. But you're totally right. He has so much experience. There's nothing that can happen that he didn't see. And that's incredibly valuable. But I just think that there's a real opportunity to create a super offense with Sean Payton's scheme and Davis Webb. If Sean's really right and he has a gift for calling plays, then Davis Webb, pressing the buttons. Then, I actually do want to talk about Sean saying that he is still going to call some plays, but that's probably a larger conversation. We'll save it for after the break if you have something.
I just add what I said yesterday. I think last season it didn't feel like the offense clicked. Like, it didn't feel like they took advantage of everything they could have. Marvin Mims didn't feel like he was being used right. Troy Franklin came and went. Pat Bryant, there were games where they'd get him the ball and he'd look good, and then you just didn't give him the ball. Like Evan Ingram, there were some big plays in there, but just didn't find the kids. And I think over and over and over again, you look back and say there were just things didn't feel like they were maximized last season. And so could just a different sequence of plays. And on top of that, just the predictability that comes with that offense. And I think those two things go together. I think we talked about Evan Ingram. There's an 82% chance that if he's on the field, you're throwing the football. That is insane. That isn't a stat that exists for any other tight end in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, that is the outlier among all outliers. And the worst part is the goal of doing that is to only use him in situations where he is being used to his best. And he still didn't feel like he was being used as best as he could, because not once did you throw him the football 10 yards downfield up the seam on the right side.
Yeah.
Which is, he aligns on the right side, like 60-40. That's where he is. And not once did you throw him the ball up the seam. And some of that's Bo and all that sort of stuff. But not only were you predictable, you also weren't getting guys into the right situations for themselves. And that, at the very least, you should have one or the other. And with Davis Webb kind of calling those sorts of things, I think that you're going to, you can't guarantee, but it's easy to be excited about the possibility that people are just going to be used in more efficient ways. And all of a sudden that could be the difference with the offense clicking versus not clicking.
Yeah, it's really interesting to think about how I'm not going to know what to expect.
Yeah.
During a game. Like towards the end of the season, especially in a situation, I had like 3 or 4 things in my head. Like that's what they're going to try here.
Wheels on the field, 2-to-1 chance he's getting the ball.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe that's all another bonus for the Broncos.
Right.
Like they get to be unpredictable. And especially in September where Sean Payton is at his worst.
Right. Right. We've got more to talk about, but there are a bunch of other topics. We learned some interesting stuff about the running backs, about the close wins. We're going to get into all of that, but real quick, want to give a shout out to some more of our friends.
Toyota, man. I love Toyota. I love my Toyota. And I only wish I could have more Toyotas. I want myself a 4Runner, maybe a Land Cruiser. I don't know. There's so many great options from our friends over at Toyota. And if you're looking for one, we got plenty of options for you at Front Range Toyota stores. I'll get to those in a second. But first, I'll remind you that trucks have always been a part of Toyota's DNA, and they have built durable legends destined for greatness and perfect for Colorado. And that's the thing. When you live in Colorado, you never know what to expect from the weather. And not everyone has the luxury of just having a different car for every type of weather. So you need a car that can stand the test of any type of weather, and that's one of the many reasons why I love my Toyota. So visit a Front Range Toyota store at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR. Let's go places.
Also, shout out to our friends over at Surfshark. If you need a VPN, Surfshark is the place to go. They do all the things that you could hope for with the VPN. It allows you to virtually travel the world. You can browse privately by encrypting your internet activity. You can block ads and malware that get in your way, could cause problems. VPNs are awesome. It's like wearing pants. All the important stuff stays private and secure when you step your foot outside. Just a good idea to protect all the activity online. They'll connect for the whole household. You don't need to count different devices. You set up one account, use on unlimited devices. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if something goes wrong for some reason, they can help you out with their 24/7 customer service as well. So if you're looking for a VPN, or even if you're not, you probably should be, go to surfshark.com/DNVR Broncos, or use code DNVR Broncos at checkout, and you'll get 4 extra months and the risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee of Surfshark VPN. Back in the Toyota Lounge for the DNVR Broncos podcast. Reminder, we've got the sale going for the Combine, so make sure you become a diehard. Now's a great chance. Save more than 50%. Go over there and sign up. All right, you had something to say about Sean still calling some plays.
Yeah. This is normal.
Okay.
And I think that it's probably going to get blown out of proportion. Like, oh, Sean's
probably
hovering, and
it will always be blown out of proportion.
Yes. But this is normal. And I would guess the opposite is true. Davis Webb probably called some plays last year in certain situations.
Okay.
And
yeah,
this is how I envision it. It's 4th and 1. Defense calls a timeout. They come over to the sideline. And whether Sean says, I want to go with this, or whether Davis says, what do you like here? At some point, there's going to be a situation where Sean says, hey, I like this here. And that's the play. That's the play that's called. He's not going to have access to the headset. So he's not going to be able to talk to Bo Nix on the field. So it's not like he can just jump in the middle and be like, no. I want to go with this. That's not how that works. But I do think there's going to be some situations, especially in like have to have it, goal to go, game-changing situations where Sean will chime in and say, hey, I want to go with this right here. And so I think that's where his play calling will come in. But I think unless something goes wrong, I think it will be few and far between.
Yeah, and red zone to me, like that's a spot. Like that's where Sean is at his best. That's where he does his best work. That's where you get 3 awesome plays every single week that he's ready to call. Again, some meant for like right up on the goal line, some for when you're 5 yards outside the red zone. And
he'll just chime in too in those situations, being like, "Let's do it here."
Yep, exactly.
And like he'll know exactly what they're
like
talking
it's time
about.
to call. Or Davis will say, "Should we use this now or should we save it?"
Yep.
And he'll give the answer. And because they know what their cards are to play. Like those are situations where you have cards to play. Third down's probably similar. You think of Sean as a red zone guy, which is why that comes to mind first. But third down, same thing. Where the question is this the time to play this card that we've talked about all week?
Yeah.
And trick plays and that sort of stuff. Exactly.
Yeah, the flea flicker, fake draw, flea flicker on 3rd and 22 against the Chargers. Sean will just, hey, let's do it.
Yep.
Let's do it here.
Yep. I think he said that the same thing happened when he was coaching under Bill Parcells.
Yep.
Which just makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because like those are big decisions to make. Yeah, I think I probably have all my thoughts out. I think that, again, initial thought is just I would never, ever, ever do this because Sean's good. But if Sean says that he thinks this makes them better, that's just a ridiculously ringing endorsement that should get you excited.
Yeah.
And so I think it's tough to be anything but excited about this move, especially when the downside is a month in, you have to now say, okay, Sean's taking over again.
One take that I haven't heard on this yet that I've been mulling over is maybe it has a lot to do with his relationship with Bo Nix, Davis Webb, that is. And Sean just saying like, man, I really want to squeeze one more year out of the Davis Webb, Bo Nix relationship. The way that they've clicked, the way that Bo has developed under Davis, the way that those two are kind of simpatico.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that we can get one more year of that, because by year 4 of Bo, he should be fully developed is a strong word, but close to his final form, where it's at that point you're more like tweaking than it is, making big developments.
Like he'll be physically developed. And,
Totally.
and so like mentally, he'll just keep getting better forever. But that might be about when you start to say like there's this 4-year period where he is going to be at the max of his physical powers and the mental is clicking in a way that as the physical will then decline and things will balance out how they balance out.
Yeah, maybe the better way to put it is like his NFL acclimation period will be over.
Right.
And so maybe that's something. And then one last thing I want to talk about is Davis Webb's background. Because if you're going to make someone your play caller, you're definitely going to give them the freedom to install some stuff.
Totally.
And this is a guy who comes from the air raid.
It's true.
Cliff Kingsbury, Texas Tech air raid. And then he goes to Cal where he's playing under Sonny Dykes. I mean, big time slinging around offenses. I think he had a crazy game one time at Cal where he threw for like 600 yards and 6 touchdowns.
I would
or something
believe it.
Silly like that. So maybe that was at Texas Tech. I don't know. Either way, I think you will see some air raid concepts bleed into the Broncos offense this year.
522 against San Diego State.
There you go.
In a loss.
Oh my God. For which team, Cal?
5 touchdowns, 3 picks.
Yeah.
Lost 45-40.
Holy moly. 522 yards of 5 touchdowns, you lose.
Yeah.
Stefo had a game like that with the Buffs. Against Cal, actually, but it was Jared Goff in that one.
Wow.
So, yeah, I think that'll be fun. Just to, see some different stuff kind of make its way into the offense. And there's another thing.
Also had a 51-yard punt in that game.
Nice.
Well, yeah.
So, it's some stuff that Sean could adopt moving forward, too, Like, Sean is probably beyond the part where he was learning stuff from other coaches and adding it to his offense. But, hey, you put in some air raid concepts that really work this year. Sean can just hold on to that when Davis leaves.
Yeah. Actually, 7 punts for Davis Webb as a senior. They were a big fan of that.
Average?
Pooch punt. There was a 10-yarder that's really going to kill it.
Yeah. That's tough.
39.3.
Okay.
Damn, that's pretty good.
He's that 10-yard punt away from being a Ray Guy finalist.
So that means he was 6 for 265 on the others. So that
That's
would
really
be
good. It's over
44. Yeah, that's pretty good. No wonder they called that. Wow, nobody's asked him about that. We might have to get into that with him. That's you gotta ask a lot of questions before you get to that one.
That's an off to the side. Somehow you got that.
Right.
Like, you ever work with Crawshaw on his punting?
Right. BT Jordan also gone. That's a good little segue. So BT Jordan is like a pass rush coach. And he mostly works with individuals and works with a lot of big names. Like offseason does a lot of that. Broncos the past 2 years, notably when they've second most sacks ever in a 2-year span, obviously led the NFL in both seasons in sacks. He was the Broncos. They hired him as like a pass rush specialist, I think, maybe consultant. So he was in there a lot, still doing his other stuff. But you ask like JFM, what is going well? Like, how are you and Zach doing all this? And the first thing he says is like BT Jordan. Like if you're writing a story about the pass rush, the story is BT Jordan. He's doing all of this. And that's what same thing from Zach, same thing from all those guys, is just the importance of that. Even talking to Court, so his releases this year, something Benny talked a lot about.
Yeah, he did.
Releases were like leveled up this year. That's a BT Jordan thing. He was asking the Broncos pass rush consultant, like, how do I get past these guys off the line? And he was teaching like pass rush type moves to get off the line and get a step on guys. So BT Jordan, I believe now with the Cowboys, I'm usually not a big like, oh, you lost a random coach, this is going to be an issue. But he is the one guy who, no matter who you talk to, it's just like, this guy's awesome.
For sure. I mean, I guess the other way to look at it is like, well, they've already gleaned that knowledge from him. It doesn't go away with him. And he was working with them individually more than like building pass rush plans, I'm guessing. That's interesting. Speaking of guys who work with players in the offseason, the Buffs just hired, things are getting very incestual here. The Buffs just hired a defensive line coach, Dante Carter, who works with Zach Allen and John Franklin Myers in the offseason.
Interesting.
Yes.
There we go. But yeah, so essentially, like, Zach would watch tape one-on-one with BT, and then JFM would watch tape one-on-one with BT. And then Zach and JFM would get together. And so they'd have their scouting reports, and they'd say, so what do we do about this? And they'd kind of go from there with all that kind of laid out with their rush plans. So I'm curious about that. I guess now's a good time. One more time, just remind you guys, sign up for the Combine. There's also a bunch of events going on. NWSL is coming to Colorado. First game is going to be at the Broncos Stadium.
March 28th?
Something like that. National Women's Soccer League. We have like a takeover. So bus from the bar, all that sort of stuff. I think some of the Rockies events are up. So if you want to be part of the suite takeover, not as expensive as you might think because they are our Rockies, whom we love.
I've never been to a suite at Coors Field, so I might go to that one.
They're nice. I mean, I think of all-inclusive food. Sometimes you can get a little bit like, there's like, there are two levels. There's like the super fancy stuff where it's like, oh, well, this is awesome, like in the suite, great food. But then also the bottom level is good where it's like, they just brought in like a bunch of hot dogs and nachos and pop. And the in-between can sometimes just be really disappointing.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, oh, this isn't good food, but there is a lot of it. Rocky's Suite, when you just have like as many hot dogs as you want, there's just a fridge full of beers.
Perfect time to do the 9-9
Oh,
challenge.
totally. I think Spencer said he's going to do it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm built for that.
There's only one way to find out.
It's true.
Yeah. But check out the events.
I'd rather do
the
9-9-9, 9 ski runs, 9 holes, 9 innings.
The skiing is just so far here.
I know, but you just get up, do it first thing in the morning.
Right.
You have like a noon tea time.
Right. I just think that all of a sudden those three really fun things would all of a sudden just be a little bit stressful. The baseball at the end would be nice because then you're just like sitting there half worn out.
And you could get the 9 beers going.
Right. 99999. Yeah. If you didn't
I'm not
eat
doing
all
the
day,
hot dogs.
No, but if you didn't eat all day, by the time you get to that 9, maybe get like a protein bar at some point.
That
Because
do numbers on YouTube.
Because people talk about the 999. They did, like Kale did like the skiing golf one.
Yeah. People
talk about like the beer. I wonder if anybody's ever done the 99999.
The 9x5.
9x5. 9 to 5. Well, we'll figure this out. Some more notes. Here's one that I thought was interesting. Sean talked for like 35 minutes, 39 minutes or something like that George didn't talk quite as long, but still had some interesting stuff. I thought one thing that Sean said that was really interesting was that, as he said, they left some meat on the bone. He said he recognizes that that they were great in one-score games last year. I forget what was it, they 9-1, something like that, in one-score games. And he said he's
no, because the two games that they lost were one-score games.
Okay.
Well, the first two.
Right. That's how it started. So what he said is we are not naive to there we go. Not naive enough to think those games couldn't have swung. Which is the truth. I mean, we saw the Chiefs were the worst 15-win team ever in 2024. In 2025, they don't even make the playoffs because, again, there's some flukiness, some randomness that goes into those one-score games. And credit to the Broncos and the grit and Bo being able to win. But long-term, you'd like to not have to play so many of those because that's when winning feels sustainable. So I thought good to hear him say that they're not naive to the fact that those could have gone the other way. And then he added, so where is the meat on the bone? And he pointed to two things. He said meat on the bone with the takeaways has to improve. Meat on the bone with the run game consistency. So those were the two spots he said they could get better. What do you think of that?
I think those are two of many.
Okay.
Meat on the bone with drops.
Right.
Meat on the bone with the offense stalling in the red zone at the end of the year.
Yep.
But he said takeaways and run game consistency.
Yep.
You could argue that those are just two of the fastest ways to win football games.
Yeah.
You consistently run the ball, you're probably going to win that game. You take the ball away multiple times, more than you're giving it away, you're probably going to win that game.
Yep.
So I think if you're looking towards next year, how do the Broncos avoid a regression? To me, the number one thing is offensive consistency. Mm-hmm. But run game consistency is a big part of that.
Right, because that's usually a consistent part of your offense. Like that's the one where you just say, okay, here's our 4 yards.
Right. Doesn't matter where we are.
We can always just go get 4.
Yeah.
Can't always go get 10, but we can always go get 4. Yeah, and I think so too. Takeaways, again, just randomness. There are some things that you can do. We talked Tauno Ufunga can just hold on to the ball more often because he could have had easily 4 more picks, And then all of a sudden, where does that rank you in terms of turnovers? But yeah, I think run game consistency is the one where it's right there for you. And I think building off of that, so Sean said we're always looking for a joker that never really stops. Makes sense. Even though, I kind of think RJ fits pretty well into that role. George talked about RJ in particular and said, had a really good year for a rookie and everything that's thrown at him. JK gets hurt. He comes in, dynamic with the ball in his hands. Saw that at all stages of the season and particularly in big games, Jacksonville, Buffalo. The route running with the ball in his hands looked good, improved on first and second down, and the game slowed down for him as the season went along. Couldn't be more happy about RJ. I think that that's the important part, the game slowing down. Because I think sometimes we talk about like vision as like this thing, and it's a term that just comes up a lot when really the game slowing down is maybe the better way to say it, because that's what it looked like. And when you think about what JK was really good at is you run duo in front of him. You're double teaming defensive linemen. You're pushing them back as far as you can. And he's good at saying, I'm going to take a step toward this A gap. Linebackers are going to take a step toward this A gap. Yep. And then by then we got this big push back there. So he's not going to be able to get over the top back to the B gap. It's open and running. But
it's thinking one step ahead.
Right. And that's just like, because you're so confident and the game has slowed down in a way that you can just say, yeah, I can just wait here for a second and then I can go make this move and we're off and running. And I do think that the game slowed down for RJ. And I think the game slowing down is the phrase that we should be using when talking about RJ between the tackles.
Yeah. It still left a lot to be desired. Meat on the bone, if you will.
Meat on the bone. Yes.
But I feel like there's this whole idea of like, if you want something, that means you don't like something else.
Right.
Like I want the Broncos to add to the running back room. That doesn't mean that I don't believe in RJ.
Yeah. It's like the Vikings like Justin Jefferson. You need 3 receivers. So
yeah,
you always like
at the very least you need 2 running backs.
Exactly. That's a 2 starter position.
And like the best thing for the Broncos is RJ Harvey, who is good, being the complimentary back.
Because then your other guy's great.
Then your other guy's really
exactly.
good. I'm excited about him, but I do think, upgrading that position as a whole is for the betterment of not leaving so much meat on the bone in the running game.
Right. What if I've talked about, and I've shared my thoughts on he makes a lot more sense as like a receiver because that's where he's at his best right now. If he grows, he grows. The Broncos do seem to think that like between the tackles could be his strength, which if we live in a world where they're right, like we just take them at their word, all of a sudden you could look at what you do at running back differently. Like all of a sudden a Travis Etienne is on the table.
Yeah.
Which would be interesting because
which he is.
Yeah, because now at this point he's kind of like, depending on how much you devalue JK because of his injuries, JK might just be the best available, assuming Kenneth Walker gets locked up the same way Breece Hall does.
Yeah.
And then you start saying like, okay, they're in some ways.
You don't like Etienne.
I mean, he's not going to be like a top 10 most talented running back in the NFL, but he's a good starter with things that he's good at. In a lot of ways, he's just an RJ who the game has slowed down for. Maybe not quite as much juice as like a 27-year-old, but.
And that's where like we talk about potential redundancy.
Right.
Maybe it's actually like a great thing to have someone who's done it.
Mostert and Achane have looked kind of awesome before. Like you just have the speed there.
Yeah.
And then you lean into like the wide zone instead of the duo with JK. Like, can we pick up all of a sudden you're going heavy on the wide zone and saying like, let's use the athleticism of McGlinchey. Like Quinn Miners can do anything. You can ask him to push a guy back. You can also ask him to run out in space in that wide zone and make something happen. And then all of a sudden you have more of an identity of the run game than the Broncos have had, where it seems like they're kind of just like there are things JK does. There are the things that RJ does.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of interesting. And then your third back, you go power.
Yeah.
And I don't even think it's power in that like it's 3rd and 1, we get him on the field. I think you still just roll with those two. But when you hit a game where the run game isn't working, like that's the card you play. Like you have that guy off the bench.
It's snowing in the AFC Championship game.
Right. Late in the season, you have whatever. There's an injury, and so you need to go to somebody else. You get to throw a bit of a curveball at a defense instead of a guy who's going to do the exact same things, just not quite as well, and that's why he's your third.
Speaking of, are people prepared to have a conversation about how much weather has hurt the Broncos in their history?
Interesting. Okay.
I'm not going to have that conversation right now.
Okay.
I'm just curious if people are ready for that conversation.
I'm not ready to participate, but I'm an interested listener.
All right. Just, the don't build a dome.
Right.
Don't put a roof over the stadium. I think there's some pretty good reasons to do it.
Okay.
We'll have that conversation one day this offseason.
Dome Broncos.
Not always.
Those late 90s Broncos would have been good in a dome. Like those 70s Broncos would have been awful in a dome.
Again, the dome is optional.
Right.
You just use it when you need it to avoid catastrophic weather.
Okay. I think Bo in that weather would have been awesome, though. Because, like, if you don't turn the ball over, like, that defense in that weather is giving up 3 points in that game. And maybe. And all of a sudden you have a quarterback who can run. Plus, if you had your starting running back who was on pace for 1,300, like almost 1,400 yards when he was healthy, they would have been, I think that would have been 24-3.
It wouldn't have mattered where you played it. You could have played it in the parking lot.
True. That is true. Let's see. Let's hit some other notes. A lot of these, so for example, like today you have the linebackers and defensive linemen who are talking to reporters. And so the way that works is there's like reporters from every team that say like, what do you think of playing for the Cardinals? They say the Cardinals would be great. And so when it's the coaches and the GMs, like it was the past couple days, it's a lot of, we have Declan Doyle. Tell us about Declan Doyle. We have Joe Brady. Tell us about Joe Brady. But there are some things like Sean Payton is on the competition committee. It doesn't sound like there's going to be too much of a tush-push conversation this offseason, but he did say like...
Because people figured out how to stop it.
Yeah. Right? It's no longer like unstoppable.
And that's why I think no one's crying about it anymore.
Yeah. And he said if we're going to change it, it's not going because of injuries, because like he pointed to the kickoff and said there's where there are actual injuries, and we're not talking about that. Talked about losing Jim Leonard, which I think is just such a massive loss. As excited as we are for Robert Livingston, like Jim Leonard, defensive coordinator at Wisconsin for 6 years. 4 times was top 10 in yards and points allowed nationally, and then wasn't bad in the others either. But yeah, talks about the value he's going to bring to the Bills. Kind of scared me a little bit in terms of like, what if the Bills get a good defense? Now those are our problems. Like it used to be as a Broncos fan,
right?
You would just be like, okay,
us.
Bills defense, whatever. Now what happens to the other teams at the top of the AFC is just as important as what the Broncos do. Almost as important.
Which is why I was pushing back so much on the idea of like, oh, you can just run back this roster and the wide receivers and the running back. And like, I'm just like, no, everyone else is doing everything they can to get better.
Yep.
We have to be in that same plane now.
Yep. Talking about Marvin Mims, Sean said the only thing keeping him back is just the rotation. So Troy did well in the second year. Pointed some of that stuff and said, when you go back to Cincinnati, there's a real special performance. Obviously, Bills this year. You just got to find him the opportunities.
A lot of people were then turning that around and being like, aren't you in charge of the rotation? Which I think in certain ways he is.
Yes.
Based on the packages he's putting out there. Also, a lot of times the position coach is in charge of the actual rotation.
Totally. And that's a huge, especially like for a guy like Marvin, who you draw plays up for, you wonder if that makes it tougher for him to get on the field for just like we're running a dig. Who's on the field for the play? He's,
Yeah. And I'm curious how they set that up in terms of their personnel groupings when Sean puts them together. Like, is it someone from this group, someone from this group, and someone from this group? Or is it like, I want that guy, and that guy out here for that group?
Right.
And so he might have more control over it than most because of how he uses personnel to his advantage or disadvantage at sometimes.
Yep.
But it could be interesting to see, like, does Ronald Curry fall in love with Marvin and get him out there more often?
Right. And again, the flip side of that is I think I don't want less Troy Franklin. I mean, more Marvin means less Troy. I don't want less Pat Bryant. More Marvin means less Pat. Like, I do want more Marvin, and maybe balancing that out some way makes sense, but
the Broncos have too many good receivers.
That's my thought.
They need a great one.
They do. That would be the difference. Yeah. And Sean said the same thing about Marvin before. It's like, yeah, whenever we get him on the field, it works out. So I don't. It's also funny, like
those type of quotes make people so mad.
The last question for Sean, you'll never guess it. Do you think Levante David should be a Hall of Famer?
Wow.
It's like, yeah, just
I guess he played against, he coached against them in New Orleans a lot.
Yeah. But as a Bucs reporter, it's like, what can I get from this? It's like, there we go. It's like, oh, okay. What are we doing here?
What did he say?
He says he does. And he says that respectfully.
Respectfully, yes.
Yeah, like a very respectfully. Yes.
You don't need to say that.
Yep.
The yes is in itself respectful.
Beyond that, wishes him well.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. George Paton asked about the extension. He does want the extension, isn't worried about the extension. Is there any reason to be worried about the extension?
Nope. Sean said he's campaigning for it.
Right.
Which is cute. I like their little bromance.
Yeah. It's good to like for all the, I don't want to say like Sean brings dysfunction with him because that's the opposite of what I believe.
Yes.
He brings function with him, but occasionally has relationships where you're just like, that would be tough to.
A bulldozer.
Right. Well, we see it with him and Bo occasionally, where they yell at each other and say, no, you just can't. It's very loud in an NFL stadium, so there's no option but to yell. And it's like, okay, sure. But we all saw you just screaming.
Yeah.
But again, like for that to be a relationship that at least on the outside has always seemed very stable, and we've never seen any sort of moment like that. And it's a good sign for sure.
And I think the narrative around Sean sometimes grows larger than it is.
Right.
Like, the idea that, which I subscribe to, that he would never give up play calling.
Totally.
Like, I think that might be like a
totally
not a self-fulfilling prophecy, but like the narrative itself continues to feed itself. But one of the things around him was like when he came here, like, oh, bro, there's no way he's working with George Paton. He's gonna blow him out immediately and bring in a guy that he wants.
Totally. And it's because sports are like reality TV. Like that's the fun of it. It's like reality TV, but with actual results. And there's so many times you see like people who are on Survivor, they'll go talk to a reporter after and be like, yeah, I was the bad guy. And I didn't even think I was that bad. But when you cut it like that, I just all of a sudden, and that's what this is. It's like you get little glimpses into Sean. And if 1/3 of them are him like scowling or like yelling at someone, then all of a sudden it's like, wow, this guy is just always angry.
Yeah. People do need to keep in mind, though, the incredible job he's done since he's gotten here.
Oh, right.
Like, I feel like sometimes that just gets lost in complaining about screen passes or whatever.
Yep.
By the way, what are people going to do the first time Davis Webb has a screen-heavy game plan because it's the right thing to do against a certain defensive look?
Yeah, I haven't dug into like the efficiency on screen since the middle of the season, which was there was a meltdown at the time. So I kind of want to do that again. But like when you can't run the ball well, then sometimes it makes sense to not just throw the ball, get those short gains to a screen game, but also stretch the defense horizontally so that you can, again, tack it up. Like screens are sometimes plays that have more value than just the yards that they produce. But
yeah,
again, that's the
Calling
4D
plays
chess. When people don't even want 3D chess, they just want chess.
Yes,
They might even want checkers.
Calling plays is writing a story.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, maybe even writing a book. Sometimes you introduce a character in the middle of, in the beginning of the book that doesn't really make sense why that character is being introduced at that time.
Right.
And then late in the book, that character comes full circle and saves the protagonist or whatever. Like that's kind of what's like when you're a play caller, you're like introducing a play early in the game. You might really not care how that play ends up.
Totally.
Because you're using it to open something up later.
Oh, it was a 2-yard screen. Like for it to be effective, it has to be a 5-yard screen. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Exactly.
I had another thought about screens. We'll save that. We have a lot of thoughts. Actually, no. Over time, people always talk about Bo Nix's average depth of target. Stupid.
A dot.
Right. Because it's the screens that kill that, which is why it's useless. Which is why it was useless during the draft process as well, because Oregon threw a bunch of screens as well. But yeah, like you say, like, Bo Nix doesn't throw the ball downfield because on average, he's throwing it 6.5 yards downfield. Well, if you categorize screens as throws, all of a sudden you take those away, and he's just a normal quarterback who also has thrown the most 20-yard air passes in the air that have resulted in touchdowns in the past 2 years.
But you know what? If Bo Nix came in and struggled and they weren't throwing screens,
right,
people would be like, why aren't they doing more stuff that he did at Oregon to make him comfortable?
Totally. Now the guy's comfortable, and yeah. We'll hit a couple of these kind of quickly. Jade Barron, George says, can play outside and can play inside. He's shown that. They're very happy. He took big steps. Called Jaquan a core player. They want him. A team could try to make a move, but they want him back. Alex Singleton, Justin Sternad, they want them back. Love them back, regardless of the draft. If we let them go, then what are we doing? They are Broncos.
On both of them.
Yeah. I think they're right.
Yeah, but that just means no Dre.
Yeah, unless, could you imagine having all three?
Linebackers
aren't expensive.
Spending that much money on linebackers.
But the thing is, like, you do that. Let's say it's like you've got Dre at his $7 million a year. You've got Singleton for $8 million a year.
Well,
you've got Sternad for $6.
Zach said he's not doing anything for less than 10 for 3 with 20 guaranteed.
We'll see where he's at when we're actually at like free agency eve instead. Because then all of a sudden you're saying like, wait, could we have all these guys for like $20 million total? That's half of like one good receiver, you know?
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, like,
I'll take that money and put it towards half of one good receiver.
Yes, you would. And then you just have like me running around out there. Yeah.
Let me get Lavelle Bailey and Kearney Reed.
Yep. He did say we saw the difference when Dre was on the field.
Interesting.
Which is shouldn't be notable. Oh, there it is. When he played, he had an impact.
Okay.
Which maybe is a little bit less than what I said.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, there we go. Greenlaw Nufunga, it took us to the next level. When Dre played, I felt like he did that. So there's an elevation.
Fair.
Some super chats. Any final thoughts on any of this?
No, but I thought this
agree.
was a great show, and shout out to Zach
and
RG for being out there.
We need more RG.
I know.
I've been saying it for years.
Guy's got a voice for it.
He's got the face too. And the hat. It's a good hat. He put a little pin on my hat, but whatever. Rusty Cleveland. How would everyone feel about Broncos signing free agent Rachaad White from the Bucs? Again, if we're talking like JK back to pair with Harvey, Rachaad is your number 3. I like it. If you're planning on giving 200 touches to Rachaad White, I would say I'm nervous about handing RJ the keys to this offensive line. I'm not giving the keys to Rachaad White.
Okay. I don't really have a lot of Rachaad White takes other than I thought he was really good at ASU.
I think I was trying to. I didn't have time to like look through my ballot to see if I voted him all Pac-12 back in the day, but I think I might have because he was nasty at the time.
And then like I feel like when I've watched him play for the Bucs,
yep,
that he's generally done good things, but I don't know a lot about him.
Generally solid in a limited role. Pure Lapine. Draft Kenyon, keep Evan, play 13 and 23 personnel, run option, get a real running back 1 in Breece Hall. Breece Hall will not be here. I think it's probably time to accept that. He's going to get tagged. He's got to move on. Oh, it's time to open your mind. He's not even that good anyway.
I think he is.
He's good, but
we'll never know if he just stays with the Jets.
Sure. Yeah. Sadiq, I'm warming to.
It's not an RK pick. This doesn't mean it can't be a good pick.
Right.
Not for me.
I know. The just lack of production. I mean, being tight end 2 on your own team in the playoff is also scary to me. Like being outgained by the other tight end in all 3 games, him having 2 touchdowns, you don't have a touchdown. There are red flags, but there are also green flags. The biggest green flag being that he plays with that jersey rolled up. And so you look at him, you're just like, oh my God, who is this guy? That he's going to be drafted higher because he rolls his jersey up and he looks like that.
Yeah.
And the quads and
it's just the production is concerning.
It is concerning.
All right. Last one's kind of interesting here.
Oh, so were the other 2 not?
Not at all.
Okay. Wow, guy. I thought they were great questions. Is Livingston DC in waiting if VJ gets a head coach job next year?
I think that's way too early to say that now. But again, this is a guy who had legitimate DC interest both of the last 2 years in the NFL. That you're getting to come in to be a passing game coordinator,
right?
And I think the brightest timeline is that's what happens.
Yep.
He does such a good job in that role. Everyone loves him. VJ gets a head coaching job, which Sean said the reason that he's not getting a head coaching job yet is because some owners are too dumb to get out of their own way or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so that happens, and then Robert Livingston could be a great option to be the DC.
Yep. Again, like Jim Leonard got that tag because he just had numbers. Like when you're Big Ten, 4 of the 6 years you're there, you're top 10 in total defense and in points. Like he was getting talk for, like he was the interim coach at Wisconsin. A lot of Wisconsin fans were mad that he wasn't the head coach. He already was kind of like established in that range, whereas Livingston's just like established a step below. And so there is like, it isn't just like automatic. But if things go well, then certainly like there's no reason he can't be the next defensive coordinator. Just how do things go over the course of the next year or 2 years, whatever, it's till Vance gets hired. I think that does it.
That does.
Yep. We'll be back tomorrow with Zach tomorrow. He will be back from Indianapolis. We'll see you guys then.
God bless Bo Nix.
We all silly like the mayor.